Welcome to the Cold Calling 101 Appointment Setting YouTube channel presented by the Caponi Performance Group. My name is Barry Caponi and I'm the founder and president of CPG, and I'll be your host on these videos. This particular video will cover the question, does what you are selling or to whom you are selling change the appointment setting process? So to many of our clients, whether we had worked with another company that did exactly what they do was really never an issue. They saw that our methodology applied equally across industries and even disparate product lines within a particular company. To others, however, it's a deeply held and heartfelt position. And to a point, they're right. No one knows their business better than they do. It's why we spend so much time with our clients prior to creating and presenting their custom version of our methodology, what we call the best practices, to their sales team. So if you've made the time to watch this video, I'm assuming you fall into that latter category. So let's go ahead and get started and begin addressing the issue of this issue, as this video is really a little bit longer than most of the others. So now I don't have any slides per se for this discussion, so to give you something to look at while I'm talking, or at the end anyway, I'm going to put one up that depicts the type of success we've had with our comprehensive approach to this challenge. So let's go ahead and begin with a basic premise. Every company has its own value proposition, or spin if you will, on what they sell, even if it's exactly the same product or from exactly the same set of blueprints, or heck, in some cases, even the same manufacturer. Why does that work? Because buyers, even when buying a commoditized product, have different sets of ancillary decision criteria that are different. How we differentiate ourselves from our competitors might simply be our service, our location, or the fact that we guarantee that we'll always have what you want in stock, but it's something or we'd be out of business. So whatever that differentiator is, we need to determine if it's important to the particular prospect we're talking to. If it's not, we'll most likely not get the sale, or certainly not enough of them to be profitable. The reality is that selling is selling, and that there are always three components to this process: the skills we've developed, the tools we use, and the process we follow. Every product and every service sold employs these three components, bar none. But then you might say, why are there are lots of different methodologies and tools and techniques to choose from? The answer is simple. As I mentioned a moment ago, regardless of what we sell, we all have our own spin on it, our own differentiators, if you will. But selling is really not rocket science. We don't have to invent some new way to sell just because we've invented the proverbial better mousetrap. We still must get the target's attention and engage them. We must shepherd them through a decision-making process as efficiently and effectively as we can. We must determine through asking questions whether we think we can help them do what they do better than they're doing it today. If we believe we can, we present our value proposition. We ask for the order. We handle their objections, and most likely we have to ask for the order again. It's a pretty simple process when you boil it down to its roots. The best salespeople are the ones that follow the selling process that's been designed for them, ask the best questions, listen well, are tenacious, and then are as efficient as they can be in order to sell as much as possible in the limited time that God has actually given to all of us. The steps in the process that we've designed for ourselves may be divided up differently. They may occur in a different order. The tools we've selected to make us efficient may be different, but they're all designed to mimic the process we've designed and follow. The questions we ask will certainly be different depending on what we're selling, but they all fall into the same categories of questions. At the end of the day, if we've got good questioning skills, we logically can take our own value proposition and plug it into virtually any questioning methodology and be successful. Here's what I mean. There are a lot of popular questioning methodologies or sales methodologies. There's spin selling, solution selling, concentric selling, Sandler sales systems. They're really nothing but variations on a theme, though. For instance, spin selling contains three categories of questions: situational, benefit, and consequence. If we find the facts we need to know about our prospect's current environment, then explore the benefits of buying from us, the consequences of not, I don't care what we sell, it'll work. The only thing that's really different is our value propositions. The number of steps, the complexity of those steps, the questions we ask, the length of time it takes to complete a buying cycle may very well be different. The tools we use to manage that process may be different, but those differences are really dictated by only one thing, our value proposition. So now, since you've come to us because we're specialists in the first half of the selling process, i.e. setting up appointments, let's get directly to that discussion. Think of it this way. Regardless of what we sell, we are all really competitors because we want exactly the same thing when we call for an appointment, a slice of a finite amount of time from the potential buyer. The sale is the same, or you might say that we're all closing on the same thing, the appointment. Once in front of them, the game changes in many ways. But the only thing that is different when we pick up the phone or we drop in to set an appointment is the reason why the prospect would want to meet with us. So let's dissect appointment setting, shall we? Because we're selling an appointment, you guessed it, there are three components to designing, implementing, and managing a successful appointment setting program. Their skills, the processes we follow, and the tools we use to organize and speed up the process. In our methodology, we call them the art, the best practices, and the science of appointment making. So let's take them in order. The art or skills are all about what to say, when to say it, and how to say to get through to a decision maker and then convince them of the value of meeting with us. To get started talking about skills, let me though cover a topic I've covered in more detail on another video entitled "There is no difference between a warm call and a cold call." And if you think there is, ask yourself this. Does your team get the appointment every time they call a marketing lead or a referral? And the answer to that is, of course not. Some marketing leads are nothing more than tire kickers, right? Heck, even in the cases of a good, solid, warm referral, the referrer generally doesn't know the inner workings of even close friends companies. So the target's still going to respond by saying, hey, listen, we've got that covered, we're not interested, or one of the other two ways that people say no. They'll just be a little bit more pleasant about it so they don't embarrass or offend the one who referred you. And if you want to be perfectly accurate, we don't really know these folks, so in reality, all of these calls are cold regardless of the source. It's also important to understand that the sequence that occurs on an appointment setting call is always the same, regardless of whether we're selling it to businesses or to individuals. It's also the same regardless of whether we're selling insurance, pest control services, banking services, or office supplies, or whatever your particular company happens to sell. We say hello, we introduce ourselves and our company, we explain the reason for the call, including our value proposition for the target, and then we ask for the appointment. The next step in the sequence is the target generally will automatically defer to their favorite way to say no to a sales professional. We call them conditioned knee-jerk responses. And then lastly, we counter that negative response and ask for the appointment again. Now, of course, we happen to believe that our methodology, which we call the appointment making formula of how to progress through that sequence, is the best around. It's what's made every single one of our clients since 2004 at least double the number of initial appointments their sales professionals made after going through the program. But that's a topic for another day and another video. Suffice it to say, for this discussion, the process one goes through is identical, regardless of whether the call is warm or cold or what we're selling. The second major component is the process, or the best practices we follow to pursue our defined set of targets to set an individual appointment. When I hear people say the process is different for my particular product or industry, this is generally what they're thinking about. This is also where our particular approach of investing time with our clients up front, learning the nuances of their value proposition, and then developing the customized best practices for their company, and more specifically, their particular solution, generally eliminates the concerns about their business being different. Best practices include things, such things as, what does our sweet spot target customer look like? What kinds of marketing will we do to get them to raise their hands and tell us of their interest? We even work with our clients to develop good networking and referral asking processes to increase the number of those warmer targets. Best practices also include where to get good lists of targets to call beyond those marketing, networking, and referral targets. Matter of fact, we work with a list vendor as a part of their service that actually scours the internet at the time they deliver the list. What happens, therefore, is they accurately update and append the list with the names that go with the titles that are current, phone numbers, including, believe it or not, even some direct dial numbers, and email addresses. Because of this, their accuracy is amazing. Their cost is also exactly the same or less than the big name manufacturers that you might have used in the past. We've also found another source that takes scouring of the internet to another level, and this we're really excited about. This approach actually finds and identifies targets that are currently exhibiting surging intent of buying behaviors on the web for topics relevant to your business. The result is finding those that are actively looking for what you sell right at that very moment and before they actually begin reaching out to vendors. Other best practices include who within the target organizations will we call on, and then defining what we call a pursuit plan. This includes how many times will we call before we give up, put them away for a specified period of time, and then repeat the process, the frequency of those attempts, whether we do it by phone, email, and or face-to-face, or even some use good old-fashioned snail mail in that process. We also must decide what we say when we introduce our company, describe the reason for the call, and what our messaging will be if they don't answer, which unfortunately is most of the time. Next, we have to decide how we'll counter those 4 categories of no we hear most, and then figure out what kind of direct questions we hear, which is the 5th and final category of responses we could potentially hear. Once we've figured that, we must now figure out how we're going to respond to those. And then the final piece to the best practices equation is what we call bridge questions. And those are unique to our methodology. And although you might be sick of me referencing other videos, we do cover this key element of our solution in a separate video. Suffice it to say that bridge questions are designed to get our targets to quit thinking about how to get us off the phone for a minute and open their minds to a conversation where we can apply our value proposition, or simply to regain control of the conversation once the target begins speaking. They are what every single one of our clients will tell you, though, is what makes our methodology work so well. The final component of any program is the tool or the science we apply to manage and speed up the process of pursuing those targets. All we're talking about here is automating the process of pulling up one target at a time, knowing where we are in the process and the pursuit of that target, making the call, sending the email, recording the effort, and moving on to the next one as efficiently as possible. Best practices generally vary across pursuit classes, or you might think of this as solution sets or prospect sets, but not within them. For instance, our most popular pursuit plan contains 4 attempts every 5th business day, leaving a different voicemail proposition for each, sending a corresponding email, and then recycling the target for 90 days if no contacts made. We've also had other clients create pursuit plans for incoming leads, for instance, that contain as many as 8 attempts twice a day for 4 days, and then give up because if they didn't get them while they were hot, their experience dictated that the lead was dead. The point is, there are a finite number of elements in a set of best practices that must be addressed, and each can be implemented within the tool. So let me summarize this way. The steps in the process of setting an appointment are identical. The process we go through on a call are identical, and they can be predicted. And if they can be predicted, we can prepare to handle them regardless of what we'll want to sell once the appointment is set, because what we're selling right here and right now is exactly the same, an appointment. So don't let anybody tell you that what you sell, or how you sell it means you can't use the same appointment setting process, even if it's not ours. Let me wrap up by saying this. After watching this video, I hope I've made the case that it really doesn't make any difference what you sell. Our methodology applies because, as I mentioned a second ago, we're all selling exactly the same thing. It doesn't make any difference what kind of experience we've had in selling what you do. The process is the same. The only difference is plugging in your value proposition or your differentiators into our formula, if you will, and applying it in those custom sets of best practices. And we invest the time with our clients up front, regardless of how much experience we've had in their line of business, because like you, we know that each business is different. Lastly, if you're like the majority of our clients, understanding these differences has opened your eyes to why you or your sales team has perhaps been struggling with this phase of the selling process. If you have, give us a call. We can not only help with the effectiveness side of the equation, but also the efficiency issues I spelled out in the 6 reasons why managing appointment setting programs is so difficult. So thanks for watching and listening, and make it a great day.